Time being 7:05, I call to order the Town of Halifax Planning Board meeting scheduled for July 21st, 2022. All members are present. The agenda this evening at 7 p.m., we have Arcor LLC for 69 Summit Street, proposal of a solar array. At 7:15, we have Adga Realty for 0 Plymouth Street for redevelopment. At 7:30, we have Dish Wireless LLC, 920 Plymouth Street for a site plan modification. And 7:45, Cled Ferreira, 650 Industrial Drive, a Form A application. We have discussions for Curtin Brothers Oil and Isabel Simoes. We also have bills for the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, Armory Engineers, and WB Mason. We have 3 meeting minutes to approve and sign, and we will be looking over our correspondence and other business. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as read?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as read.
Motion, do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Shutting my phone off.
7 o'clock, do we have Arcor LLC and Pizai? And Barbara and Pizai.
The board, okay?
Maybe over here so that the camera.
Yeah,
can
one
go
side or
on
the
it.
other, please.
Right?
If we have to get closer, we can.
I mean, we can pull out. Well, these are the.
This being used,
Yes, if you don't mind. Just so you know, we are being recorded, and the microphones are actually for the PA system inside here. So if anyone would need them.
good evening, Field Engineer, Richard Teo from Field Engineering, on behalf of Adga LLC. This is a continued meeting on our site plan review for the proposed solar array at 69 Summit Street. Just as a recap, this was previously permitted and approved back in 2015-16 range. Very similar sized array in the same location, more or less, on the site as well. We did discuss a number of things at the last meeting, and the reason for the continuance was to have your consultant take a look at the plans, the stormwater management calculations, and provide you with a report. We did receive an initial report that had a number of minor comments. Nothing that significantly changed anything on the plan. We had to add a couple of detail to the plan for the 20-foot wide access aisle around the array, which will be approved by the fire department as we go through the building permit process. And they had also asked us just to extend some of the erosion control lines that we had shown on the plan to protect the stormwater management, stormwater features. Additionally, they asked us to look at the decommissioning costs that we had submitted with the application to bring some of the labor rates up to closer to what they would be if the town would have to go in there to decommission the project.
Okay.
Subsequent to the initial letter, I guess we did send a response to Amory, and they did respond with a letter basically stating that we addressed all of their concerns. And we're here tonight just to see if the board has any additional questions, and hopefully we can receive a positive site plan review this evening.
Okay. I have had a chance, I just want to go over again real quick to see if I do have that review here.
It's right here.
And that one is 21. Yeah.
This is what I just passed
Right.
over to them. I read it.
All right, are there any comments from any members of the board?
No? I'll make a motion to approve the site plan based on all Halifax bylaws and the revisions made on July 11th, 2022.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That goes on there, on this.
This one.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and then I'll put it all back together.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thanks,
You
you
too.
too.
As far as, we can just do that at the end, and that way we can pull everything apart, use the tables.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Because I'll just grab the file. She can give me a rundown of how she owns it.
Okay. And then we can use both tables and everything.
Much better, right? Do we have the other,
Do you guys still have that copy of that? Do I have this back? I think we need that back.
The one you just gave us?
Yeah.
Yes. $5.
you can keep it if you want.
Oh, you.
We do have MyLaws to sign. You want to do that? Is that what you meant at the end of the meeting?
And that way we can spread them out.
That's what you said. Am I here?
We can just give it a couple minutes. Right at 7:15.
You want to go over bills? Get them out of the way.
Wait, 1 minute.
All right.
All right, time being 7:15, do we have a representative from ADGA? Be willing to give them a couple minutes, maybe just to see if that's an issue.
It's fine with
Anything?
me. Want to do the bills?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Want to read
Um,
them off?
Yeah, if you don't mind. What we're going to do is we're going to allow a few minutes for EDGA. We're going to move to bills to allow for some time.
Make a motion to to pay a planning board expense for the registry of deeds recording of the planning board signatures in the amount of $107.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to pay planning board account for Armory Engineers for 69 Summit Street Solar, invoice number 15911, in the amount of $608.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This was for Rick, I believe.
I make a motion to pay planning board expense for WB Mason, office supplies, for invoice number 230866179 in the amount of $77.13, and invoice number 230866325 in the amount of $14.29, totaling $91.42.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Should we do minutes? Some of them?
I'm not, I guess,
They haven't called or anything as far as we know, said they were gonna be late or anything? No?
now, as far as timing, we still have not started anything, correct? So there's,
No, they wanted to wait for the 30 days to be up, and they asked us that.
okay.
And then they have 45 days before it's automatically approved if we do not act, which means we have,
But I believe that the time she's referring to is the time the other boards had to, so I don't think we are currently under timing.
yeah, we've had the 30 days, but our next meeting will not be until after the 45 days. So that would mean that they'd get an automatic site plan approval. So we need to do something about that tonight.
I see. That's where you're saying 7/13, 7/28, it would be 45 days?
And that's way before our next meeting. So we either vote to extend their time, or we vote to not approve it.
That 30 days is from the date of the application? That's when the 30 days starts?
Yep, so that's to have all of the other boards send us any comments. And then 45 days is the date that would be an automatic site plan approval without action.
But I did notice on the checklist that they had there that there were a couple of things missing. So, if, in effect, you know, like the septic update, and was one of them, I forget what the other one was, that was required, that they said they had it checked off that not submitted. So I mean, has it been since, you know, the practice of the board that unless it's a complete application, then the time period doesn't start?
Originally, I was under the impression that the time had not started. And that is my concern, where generally when there is an extension, it's an agreement between both parties, being the board and,
In writing, correct?
yes. So,
But if we don't take action and they've already had the 30, and we already acknowledge that, the 45 days from the application of when they put it in has started.
yep. So I think,
Can I add, if we're, aside from talking about just the timeline and our communication for this in the chair of the historical district committee, the last sentence, the commission feels that what is now planned will be a direct detriment to the area to which the project is proposed. They were on the agenda, they were made aware that we were going to be discussing this. They're either not here or fashionably late without giving us notice, and with the timeline coming up, I would move to not approve.
I would second that.
yeah,
The only thing that I would add, or think might be necessary to consider is that, can we give them an opportunity to withdraw without prejudice, or do we just simply vote no on? I don't know how
I
that,
feel as though because they were on our agenda for 7:15, they would have had that opportunity to come and speak while they would have that. So
Okay.
by not showing up or showing that they're leaving it in our hands, and the committees in which are selected to investigate, like our historical committee, which ties to the character of our town. And I'm going to take that last sentence in that one board on that letter to us, saying it's a detriment to our town, to say, even if they were here, that would have sufficed for me.
I would add to that that conservation would have to give a variance in order for this to happen. And I'm pretty sure that everybody in this room is here to try and tell us they don't want it.
Well,
All right.
made a motion.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't take it as motion, but hold on
I
one
made a
second.
motion that we
Hold-
do not pass. How's that?
Okay.
And I seconded it.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to deny the application for Adga Realty at 0 Plymouth Street, which would be
592 and 0 Plymouth Street.
592 and 0 Plymouth Street.
what was the date of the extension?
They don't have an extension.
I wasn't trying to knock you out of your sentence.
It was 6/13.
When was it? I'm sorry?
So,
6/13.
Originally was filed 6/13. Just so everybody's clear, this is odd to me that I don't know that we've run into a situation where someone applied for something and then never showed up.
I've seen it.
So that's why I was at first under the impression that whether or not that timing had started, because it feels like the process never truly
They
began.
applied on 6/13 on their application.
Whether the time has started or not, they're still on our agenda to discuss after putting in their application. So whether they've run out of time or not is really, I don't see an issue. I feel as though we have enough information presented to us from the boards that we've asked to look into it to be able to make a decision. And them being here would just be able to provide their side of the story, but they're clearly not here to do so. So the result will be whatever we decide.
Okay, so
I think.
I believe I currently have a motion to deny the plan. I do have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
All those opposed?
Nay.
All those undecided currently?
It's just I don't know how to figure this one out.
Would be aye. I am,
That's the thing.
If we let it go, it's an automatic approval
Right.
to the date. And so we are acting upon it to make it so that they are not automatically site plan approved. And
and
do we have any?
the only other thing I was
residents that
wondering
wanna
would be the extension. Is if we offer the extension to hear them out. Just as I said, it still seems odd to me to have a proposal and not have anyone represented.
Well, it's
It seems.
just a fact, though. This is where it is.
Okay.
So real quick, just because obviously before we go too far down the rabbit hole, does the letter from John Shea, the chairman of the Historical District Commission, does this not matter?
Oh, it's certainly.
Anybody's decision? Does it not weigh in on anybody's decision about the character of our town? Because, one more time for the record, the commission feels that what is now planned will be a direct detriment to the area to which the project is proposed. John Shea, chairman. That's what that guy has a job for. So the people have applied, they've put in their stuff, we've given them more than 30 days, they're not here, and our historical chairman put in writing that it's not within the guidelines that they are in charge of.
Okay, so my hesitation would be, because generally we would be afforded the back and forth, where we would get those comments and we would be able to give them back to the people with the proposal.
Right.
And I feel like we're missing that step, which seems awkward to me, but I do not want to get stuck in the hole where they just don't show up and then they get it. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
They told that they were on the agenda,
Oh, I sent them all the comments last week.
but were they told that they were on the agenda?
Yes.
So they were made aware that they had an opportunity for that.
We have public
So
comment.
therefore,
I should
if I get summons to court for something and I don't show up, I don't get to go free.
This is true.
Decent truth.
Truth in it. The only thing that Amy had provided me with on the site plan review, that, the only stickler I had with it, the same thing was, you know, bottom line, if it's allowable by right to put a, you know, a commercial business in a business area as of right, and it must comply with, you know, requirements from the historical committee. I mean, I personally have spoken with Mr. Shea about it, and it was very concerning about, you know, the appearance, the outside, what it was gonna look like and whatnot. And if, the way I read it, we can put stipulations in on the permit, but we can't deny it based on the fact if it's allowable by right.
Yes, we can.
But it needs a variance from conservation to even exist.
If it,
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you
And-
can't rule on it.
hold on. He did, unfortunately.
Because we're currently stalled, sir.
So at the end of the day, do you remember?
Excuse me?
You stopping there on the motion when he's asking for a vote?
It's the
Hold on.
discussion.
We're in discussion.
Um, do you mind stating your name, just?
In favor,
Yep.
amend the motion and have discussion.
Okay, so just so everyone's clear, we currently have 2 people against, 2 people for, 1 person undecided. That's where we're at right now. So back to,
We can decline or reject a application if it does not fit in the character of the town. Such like that storage facility that was gonna come in before, and it was gonna be 50 feet off the lot, and it was gonna be 3 football fields deep and 2 football fields wide across from Halifax Market. And although they would have checked off every box for what was required, it didn't fit the character of our town. So we told them no. We have the right to do that, that's our job, is to protect the character of our town, we're the first stop. So whether they feel as though they can check all of the boxes, forget about them hitting all the boxes. One, they didn't show up, and our historical committee is saying that it's not right for the town. So therefore, I think it's only our responsibility to listen to the other parts and the other parties whose job is to have the best interest of our town. And they had their chance to defend themselves, and they're not here. That should speak more volumes, or just as heavy as this letter. But put the 2 of them together, I still vote aye.
Want to ask for any public comment? I think we should.
That's why they're here, right?
yep.
Plans we had to show, did they show the buildings? I've never even seen it. Did they show what the building's gonna look like and all that? And
So
never really,
that's the issue where they have applied and they have provided us with them. They just have not presented them in front of us.
yeah.
They chose to wait the
But
30 days.
I will say, based on the information that I have at this time, I would like to support the motion, and I will vote to deny the application.
So then therefore it is denied 3 to 1-1. 3 to 1-1.
Okay, 3 to 1-1.
Now,
Time to apply.
I have a question. Does that mean on a denial, They can't reapply for 2 years
Without a significant alteration.
without a,
Without a unanimous decision of the planning board.
So, just so you know, because I heard the question is how official or permanent is that? They cannot reapply for a minimum of 2 years, and then when they reapply, they need a unanimous decision by the planning board. I'm here for 4 years.
Can I just ask a question on the planning board? Because many of us don't come to these meetings, wasn't really affectionate with yourself. In this situation, and they had come in, are you pretty well stuck by the rules and regulations that you govern? And they cover all those rules and regulations. They need anybody, any kind of, just mention about storage. They cover everything, right? They still deny it.
The board certainly has to be prepared to defend that decision, and we may be asked in this case.
How much does it, how much does the community, again, you guys are, so we come up and we hear, how much, I mean, we all know each other, for the most part. How much does that mean?
Okay, so, like, the input helps, right? Because we want to know what the feeling is, because we're supposed to be representing you guys. But a lot of times it seems like where it ends, where we're looking at by the book, and that's when it's tough, is when someone just doesn't like it and it really does meet the requirements. And that's when it's tough to deny someone something on their own property that they're asking for. And sometimes that gets lost too, where the person with the proposal is usually also someone who owns property in town. So we always want to look at all of that input, but sometimes there are certainly cases where it's not desirable, but it's right. And those things, I believe, should be approved because the person has the right to do it. It's undesirable by other people, but they have the right.
Can you suggest, with all the different areas that are closer into the business zone area, Walmart's, all those, perfectly, again, the example I can use is across from Cumberland Farms, that hideous area there. Can you as a board suggest people when they come in, that, this is far here, that we would love to see somebody come in? Or is that just not possible?
Usually they've already found something by the time it hits our desk. That's why through the process of applying and things of that nature, so they've done their own. But at the end of the day, if it is, we can certainly suggest if this didn't work, and if they still want that. But usually if they found a spot that they like, they've gone through that application process, they're already pretty done with it. But I would also comment on the chairman's statement that each person on this board has their own vote based on their own, I don't want to say opinion, but also interpretation of the bylaws and how much they weigh everybody in this room and how many people show up, because sometimes there's nobody in here and we can meet downstairs, and sometimes we need a whole hall for it. And so obviously if there's a topic that half the town, I mean, we're a small town, maybe not this small, but where most of the town's members come to voice their opinion, I know personally that would weigh heavily in my decision whether to vote for or against.
Thank you. So.
Yeah,
and if I could in the same breath, Dick, my experience in the pack, like when we did the Walmart, it was, oh my God, it's a monstrosity in the middle of our town. So what we did was, again, why I said it was a matter of as of right, they were allowed to put a business there. However, we worked with Walmart, we worked with several other different developers that came in and said, okay, you're in the center of our town. We wanted clapboards instead of shingles. We wanted dormers. That's the only Walmart in the whole chain of Walmarts that has dormers out front. Cut back on the asphalt so we didn't have acres and acres of asphalt that would drain off into the neighborhoods out behind. So that was my point. In speaking with John, like, okay, what do you need? What do you need to make it better? There was a lot of things that, if it could be done within the character of the historical district, and it was a matter as of right. Let's, work with businesses. Everybody has voted in town. You've heard it before. We need business, we need business, we need business to increase our the tax revenue. So that was my reason why if they hadn't had at least an opportunity, to work and try to work with us to make something presentable in this historic district, something.
And if they showed up, we probably would have given them that opportunity.
There you go.
So
Exactly.
I think what you brought up is a great example with the Walmart, where most people don't think about it, but that berm up front, the fact that you don't see that building in that parking lot is huge. It makes a big difference for people who used to see a Nezrella's farm up there. You drive by and you see the grass. It makes a big difference. And that was from input from people like you. And that helped, because if it was flat, it would have passed all requirements, but it made a huge impact visually. And that's with the feedback.
Did they receive any variances? And the people agreed to them, because that's where we get into it. When we have certain bylaws in this book that we read, and giving them a variance when there's a room full of people against it, unless they work it out, is not okay. Like this project is not by right, in my opinion, and I think it's based on fact, due to the fact that it needs a variance from conservation, and therefore it is not by right.
Well,
All right.
we can move on
Yeah.
with regard to settlements.
Okay? Excellent. All
I
right.
have to stay for the rest of the meeting, sorry.
Yeah.
If I have to be here, you have to be here.
All right. So we are going to call our 7:30 appointment for Dish Wireless for 920 Plymouth Street.
Yes, can I be heard on the Zoom call?
Oh, yep. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to the board, and I'd like to thank Joanne for allowing me to do this by Zoom, because I'm north of Boston, and she saved me a 4-hour round trip.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Joanne. But what I'm seeking to achieve for a company called Dish Wireless is a confirmation by the planning board that site plan review is not required for its installation of antennas and equipment at the 920 Plymouth Street existing cell tower that was built in 2002. It has the 4 major carriers that exist: AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint. And now Dish Wireless is a new wireless carrier that's been licensed by the FCC. They're seeking to co-locate on the tower with antennas that are similar to all the other carriers, with their equipment within the existing fenced compound on a vacant concrete pad that was once occupied by a company called Metro PCS. And that company merged with T-Mobile about 5 years ago. So there's been a lot of activity in the wireless industry, but we're not changing the site plan. When this project was approved in 2002 by this board, as well as the zoning board, it was for the 150 monopole. We'll be attaching antennas at 100 feet, and for the fenced compound. So Mr. Perry at the building department indicated we should at least make a presentation to your board. We will be filing for a special permit with the zoning board, but we do believe that site plan review is not required. No new utilities, no changes to the tower, to the compound, no changes to access. And I could bring up some visuals if you'd like, but this tower has been in existence for 20 years behind a self-storage facility adjacent to a transmission corridor. So I believe this board has the authority to confirm that, Mr. Chairman, and that's what we are seeking.
I do appreciate you offering the visuals. We have dealt with this in the past, and I believe that this is something that's common in all the antenna array, and it's something that we've always approved in the past. We almost consider it more of a maintenance and upgrade situation. I do not feel as if a site plan review would be required.
Okay, so I didn't hear you very well, but do you feel it's something you can just indicate is not applicable? Because we're essentially just...
Yes.
Okay. Would we be able to get some sort of letter from the board or from Joanne to the building inspector?
I have a question.
There is a letter in there
We
from-
do have a, If you would, we do have a question from a board member.
Could we get an as-built site plan that we can have on file so we have record of what it is, just in case there's something, maybe police, fire, anything like that?
Yes, we have construction drawings already prepared that we're going to, that we've already submitted to the building inspector. So those are already available at town hall. They show the existing compound and everything will be added.
Full size? Full-size plan?
May I understand?
She's asking for a full-size plan.
Oh, yes, full-size plans can be submitted. I don't know if Halifax does electronic filings, but if full-size plans requested, we can certainly provide that without a problem, certainly.
Okay.
I think it's important to note also that from James Perry, the building inspector, I've reviewed the site plan, and the building department has no issue with this project.
I also think it's really important for everybody to understand that it's FCC trumps everything, so they really, honestly, we don't really have much to say about this.
And just so everyone knows, the antenna, the pole and everything exists. They're just adding another piece to it. It's fairly common. You should always expect it with these things. Things are going to change. Just going to open up to the audience.
What's the height of the, excuse me, building, what's the height of the existing pole at this point?
What, excuse me?
The height of the existing.
I believe you said it was 100?
The tower height, is that what's being asked?
Yes, please.
Yes, the existing tower is 150 feet, and Dish Wireless, Dish provides television service as well, but they're getting mobile licenses for cellular. They'll be installing at 150 feet, so down at the lower end. No increase in height of the tower by any means.
Okay, thank you.
Is this a motion, or do we even need to do that?
Make a motion to waive the site plan process with caveat that they send in full-sized site plan as built.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, Mr. Chairman, forgive me, but I couldn't quite hear what that motion and decision was.
So,
Big thumbs up.
yeah, the motion is to waive the site plan, but with the request of the full-size copies of the as-built to have on file.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope it's not too hot in that town hall.
It's actually not so bad.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Getting close. Give it a couple minutes, and then we'll start this next one.
What time is it close?
45, 7:45. You got to be pretty close.
42?
Let's see.
What time is it?
7:40. Yeah, 45.
7:45.
All right, 7:45, we have Cled Ferreira for 650 Industrial Drive. Come on up.
Evening.
Evening.
This is an A&R plan. Currently, Pledge Tree owns this property, and this is owned by another LLC. And what Cled would like to do is buy this blue triangle from here and combine it with this property. It's approximately 5,900 square feet.
Okay.
We're not changing
And then-
the frontage.
That was, all right.
On either
So-
property, right? Looks like on either property, the frontage doesn't get changed.
Frontage is staying the same on both properties. The only thing we're doing is just taking this little triangle.
Just an interior parcel, okay. Look at the notes. To combine parcel A containing 1 square feet taken away from lot B.
That's probably a good idea for at least a
Yeah, I've just
second.
gotten to the point where now my glasses have to come off and on. Sometimes, thank you.
It's just, they have to see for the buildings.
All right, any questions from the board?
It's pretty simple.
Would-
Very,
My own information, was this the one where the building inspector went down with the fire chief? And they had to meet certain requirements before it was to be considered, and then it was inspected. I'm not sure if it's the same one or if it was for a building or something they were gonna put up, but I know there was a problem with the bins, and I know also, Mark, just my own, I spoke with interim chief Kuzo today, and he said he went down and inspected it again and said it did in fact meet the requirements, you know, the bins. Yes,
Or
it did.
didn't, okay.
But I wasn't sure if it was the same application or if this was.
It's the same property.
It's the same one?
okay, so
just-
bins,
just for that
this
piece of
is the
property.
tree storage, right?
Yes, but
Okay,
not for,
now I
to put
got
up a
you.
building or anything like that. It
Yeah.
was strictly for making the bins compliant with safety issues and access road out back. They were supposed to be have dividers between the different types.
And they have completed
And they
that
have,
work.
that's what
Excellent.
the interim chief said today, that it,
Did that have any impact on this application, though?
No.
Okay, just, so we're just bringing it
Well,
Yeah, making
probably
sure
if
that
they
it's the
weren't in
same-
compliance, I don't know, though, like we haven't run into that, but if they weren't in compliance, I'm not really sure if an A&R would be affected, but
It's a completely separate application, so.
All right,
We have a question on the floor.
on the floor? Yeah.
Chris Mills, 129 Circuit Street. Is there a use listed which, due to all issues that happened in the past?
The use for the parcels that labeled 6A would not change. This would not have any change of use or would not permit any change of use.
So would there be grinding going on there, or is that?
has nothing to do with it. It's an A&R, approval not required, it's a land exchange.
Yeah, so whatever usage of the property is will remain. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the A&R.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second. Rick, you're up next.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Joe.
You're gonna be in the middle of the
Like last one?
Hopefully not.
Okay. Next up would be discussion for Curtin Brothers Oil. I believe that members of the board have had a chance to talk to the fire chief on this. He seems to be on board with the project. I believe as of right now, the question was whether or not this required anything from the board. After trying to find any research I could on what else had been proposed, talking to the fire chief, I am strongly of the impression that this is allowable by right. I'd like to open up to the board if anyone has had a chance to look at it and has any comments.
I spoke with the interim chief this afternoon specifically regarding this. And again, as we discussed in the last meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Curtin, there's no change in the use. It's not like he's adding another building. It's not like they're adding another business there. This is the same use, has been there for 40 years, or 1940. Okay, more money. I specifically asked him about the storage of the fuel. He went into specifically named the CMRs, and he I also called the state fire marshal's office. I spoke with the coordinator, the code coordinator, and the field area representative, Mr. Williams, who called me back. And they both said that the only thing that was required, they agreed with interim chief Kuzo, that an FPO 6 permit is the only thing that's required. We've had them here in the past in Halifax, down at the highway department. They met the requirements of the 527, not to get all technical, 527 CMRs, chapter 66, and the diesel fuel, a class 2 diesel fuel. It met the requirements that are all covered under the that FPO -6 permit that would be issued by the fire marshal representative, which is the police, the fire chief here in our town. They did say that they compared it to the same permit that was issued in town to our highway department. I have the numbers here. And basically, bottom line, how it was explained to me was the manufacturer itself, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the manufacturer of the storage container, if it's double lined, if it's explosive resistant, if it requires a certain type of emergency switch shut off, if it's fenced in, it has to meet the requirements of the manufacturer who made the storage tank. Because it's under 10,000 gallons, again, there's like 6 or 7 of them in town, specifically because it's on a stand and whatnot. As long as the permit would be issued on the basis of the manufacturer said, yes, Curtin Brothers oil does meet the installation requirements. He did say that if there were certain things, there was a specific chart that because it's 1,000 gallons, the only thing it had to be was 15 feet from a public way. If it had enclosed by a fence, it would have to be 5 feet from the closest existing building. If it did have a fence, and other than that, it's nothing else required except how he called it, what he referred to it as a basic permit. There's nothing special about a class 2 diesel fuel storage tank with a flash point at 100 or greater. It's one of the lowest type combustible fuels there is. It's not like gasoline that has a flash point that's really high. And that's what he explained to me today. And both, like I said, both the fire marshal's representative and the field agent who's in charge of this area. Mr. Williams was his name.
Okay. Any other members have any other comments? Amy, Brendan?
I mean, I just think that the big the big conversation last time was whether or not we were going to require a special permit by the bylaws of the town. Based off of the information that was presented, it wasn't whether to approve or deny it, it was just whether or not we were needing a special permit. That was the big conversation was last time. So I just want to make sure we're clear with what we're having the conversation about here. But if what we're saying is that he needs to apply for a permit anyways, that's what that's saying, right? He needs to technically apply for a permit, just not a special permit through the planning board.
But,
Certainly not from us, yeah.
however, why do we have a letter here from the interim fire chief that says on July 8th, 2022, to the planning board, dear planning board, I recently spoke with Anthony Curtin Jr. about his proposed above-ground storage tank that he wishes to install on Plymouth Street. He was inquiring as to what his next steps were. I mentioned to him that I believe he needs to contact the planning board and start a file with them, as that is the proper procedure. There were no specific permissions given or granted from me regarding the tank. I will be more than happy to assist with any plans once the proper channels have been taken. Let me know if you have any questions. Regards, Jeff Kuzo, Interim Fire Chief.
Well, what he specifically said was that the.
In the letter?
Application, yes.
Or to you?
He made reference to it. He, that the application starts with a letter of, application to the board saying, okay, I'm applying for this permit. That's how he explained it to me.
So it's a special permit.
I'm sorry?
So it would be a special permit to the plan?
No, a permit. The permit number, what did I say, well, FPO-6. It's just a regular permit.
Yeah, so
It's a standard, he referred to it as a standard permit for storing fuel. He
not to be,
specifically-
not to be.
I hear
given
what you're
from-
saying,
Not a
but
special
this
permit
is what we have
for
in
use of
writing
the
from
property.
him.
In fact, he specifically said as the fire chief, he has no jurisdiction over special permits whatsoever. But as far as the permit goes, he said, there's a difference, and again, he said there's a difference with this storage tank, the fuel, the diesel fuel is only going to be used for Curtin Brothers oil vehicles. As long as it wasn't going to be sold to customers or sold for resale, that's a whole different can of worms there. So he said it's specifically for, and he said he had spoken to you, and that is exactly what the use of the fuel in the storage tank would be for basically running his trucks, therefore his own trucks,
So we would have to still apply through us for that permit?
for the FPO-6.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And that's,
no, that is not a permit that we grant.
no, that's not
So,
for us,
yeah,
that's
so
through the chief.
Yeah, the permit that he's referring to is not
I'm
a
sorry?
permit. Yeah, so,
Oh,
Is that what this is here?
No, those are my licenses.
yeah, these are the licenses for the
Do you have
property
a
in
copy
Wickenow.
of that permit?
Pardon me?
Do you have a copy of the permit?
I didn't bring it, I don't think I needed it, but I do have it, my chief had it.
I'd like to see it.
I swung by the town clerk's office this morning and, or actually this afternoon, and confirmed that TLC companies doing businesses, Curtin Brothers Oil is up to date and current with their licenses on the property. I did get a copy of it to bring to the board. There are no fees or anything in arrears or anything. He is, Curtin Oil is up to date as of 1:39 this afternoon.
Okay.
We have
So-
public.
I believe that, Brendan, I think you're right. It went down to whether or not the board is of the belief that this needs a special permit. So,
Before we make a motion, some people have had their hands up. Do we, at what point do we open it up to discussion of the public?
once I think we get it clear, once we're clear, then, you know what I mean?
So
as long as we all understand that that's where we're at right now, is whether we need to decide whether or not this requires a special
So
permit.
my question would be, what is it that the special permit, what is applying for a special permit, what kind of extra, I don't want to say hassle, that's not the right word, right? But would applying for a special permit in any way, shape, or form impede him from getting the permit?
All right, so by having him apply, that doesn't mean that he will not get it.
Okay.
But it's certainly violation of rights.
But
The man has a right to do it, so if you stop him or tell him he needs the permit or tell him he needs special permission, when you feel as if he does not need special permission, that's where I find the infringement.
I
Well,
agree.
there's different
So-
locations that are mentioned in the permit that would be part of the site plan that would show where it would go, and there's requirements, and that is not upon the fire department, that's upon us.
So if we don't believe that,
I just want you to understand, I'm not debating or taking an opposite side of the belief that he doesn't, that he does need a special permit. I'm simply asking the question of, would applying for a special permit, other than taking a little bit longer, get in the way of anyway, if he's due the right one way or another, wouldn't the special permit just provide an extra layer of protection for the town and its residents and Mr.
No, so it would be incredibly improper and not, because the town's already said that this is how we want things done. We want the right to be able to do this, and we don't want to have to ask. We don't want to seek special permission. We feel as if we can do this. And when you take that, I don't want to take that away, whether it's oil storage
or
or,
bath salts.
But we do
Yeah,
have in writing
but-
from the chief that it says to go through here.
So
So I
I
have
believe,
hearsay
yeah, so.
of other
No,
things,
this is
but
true.
this is a document.
That this mentions that he wanted, it says, needs to contact the planning board and start a file that has a proper procedure. So he just wanted him to come before us to get any feedback, to know, to make sure that even though he thought it was okay and he has nothing that says that there's nothing wrong, it gives us an opportunity to overlook. That's just, it's a common thing that we do with everything in the boards. When things get
Can you
submitted,
read that sentence?
there were no specific permissions given or granted from me regarding the tank. Yep. So, right?
What permission do I have there? If I just handed you?
Yeah, you have the permission to store all sorts of stuff. Total capacity of fluids, above 500 gallons, 38,000 additional,
That's the application, but the license is on the bottom.
50,000 gallons motor fuel, 500 gallons lube oil, 300 gallons fuel oil, 150 gallons antifreeze.
Mark, specifically, one says above ground, a couple of them say above ground, one says below ground. So
Okay.
above ground is licensed, deeded to the property, recorded at the registry of deeds. And the second page is a permit from the town, renewed every year for the last 40 years. What does that give me that I don't already have? What do I have to go after that I don't already have?
I certainly think that you've done everything that you needed, and I believe you have the right to put that in. Me personally.
The only thing extra, according to the interim fire chief, is the fact that this is a new storage tank where it's on legs, needed that basic standard permit to say, yes, it complies with the manufacturer's suggested safety features and whatnot. But again, as Mr. Curtin just said, the bylaw does say for light industrial manufacturing that a special permit would be required.
And storage.
This isn't anything to do with changing from a fuel delivery company to a manufacturing or light manufacturing or anything like that. This is, the use itself is not changing that would require it to come under a different category or a mixed use. It's for his trucks and for the business that's pre-existing and conforming to current regulations. Other than it's something new, you would need that FPO-6. All three of them said you would need that standard permit. Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to say special.
No,
But that's, this screw everything up.
No, that's all I read, is
Yeah.
that we needed to talk about the special
And
permit.
that's,
And I was just clarifying what that special permit process would do. So that's all.
Okay. All right, as far as discussion, yeah.
Karen Viva, 66 Clyde Wadsworth Road. I had asked the committee, the last meeting, to seek legal counsel on light industrial use, because it was already determined it was light industrial use and it needed a special permit last time. You said on camera that you didn't want to spend the money to go to legal counsel, that it was costly, right?
This is true.
But then you would look for the letter
Yep.
that said from the attorney that it was light industrial use. Did you find that?
Yes, so these, the things that you were talking about, that you sent me to look for, are not about this proposal. I could not find anything about this proposal that had, so there was nothing from, excuse me, please. So just for clarity, there was no ruling from our attorney on this proposal.
Okay. Not on
Yes.
this particular one, and that's why I asked you to seek legal counsel, and you denied that request, okay? So I'm asking the board again, okay, for the town residents of Halifax, that we pay and we elect all of you, okay? That you seek legal counsel, because I did research, and the research states that if you're using it on your own property, right, that you don't need special permit. But that if you're taking it off of your own property, then it becomes a different matter. Then it is light industrial use. And so I'm asking you again, seek legal counsel before making a decision.
Okay, thank you.
Is that something you guys will do?
On this one, the board would seek legal counsel when it found it necessary. I do not find it necessary. So the reason that I had issues with contacting the attorney on this before is, as we all know, it's expensive to call an attorney or ask them a question. The paperwork that I was supposed to be finding was something that was already provided to us and was in the building. It makes no sense to call an attorney to have them resend information. You know we're going to get charged for that. If that information is in the building, it makes no sense to request it again.
But you
That's what happened.
stated tonight that it wasn't for this proposal.
It wasn't, yeah. So there is no,
But you were saying that we didn't need to receive legal counsel because we already had it. But at the beginning of this, hold on, at the beginning of this statement, you did state that it wasn't for this proposal, which makes it null and void for this. And we have residents again stating that they want us to get legal counsel.
that, yes, so we do. But if the board does not feel as if we can take that under advisement, but if the five of us feel as if that we do not need that, then we shouldn't proceed with that.
We have another.
So we have issues where if we look at these books all the time. If we have an understanding that someone else doesn't, and they ask us to get clarification, but we don't need it,
We do
that
have a
happens.
difference opinion on the board, so.
Yeah. But
We
you
did.
understand that not every time it's presented would it be required. You know what I'm saying?
And we,
So if there's a difference of opinion on the board, that's exactly when we would need to seek counsel. If there's a difference of opinion between the board and the public, but it's been requested by the public. But before we go down that road, we have another person.
If you don't mind, just stating your name and address first.
You, if I'm understanding, requested what was judged before. And you looked at that, and that was different than what he is asking for now. So they did not rule that what he is asking for now is like industrial use.
Right.
Correct.
What he's saying though is he didn't feel as though the need to seek legal counsel on this because of the previous ruling, but that is different from this. So therefore, we would need to ask counsel for new input based off the new application.
When the town put their tank in, did they, let industrial use? Did they seek counsel?
Not that I know of.
Did they get special permits?
Not that I know of.
They got us and say, it would be easier to make this check and get a special permit for us.
That certainly did not happen. That did not happen.
That doesn't happen when the town wants to put their tank in. And how many more tanks, Mr. Gaines, did you say there were a bunch of tanks throughout the town?
They were quite, yes. The most recent one was the highway department. That was the most recent, and that was a 10,000 gallon
10,000, this is 1,000 gallons.
above ground.
On Route 106, not in a neighborhood, 106, in the corner of two major intersections, not a neighborhood. Your neighborhood ends where 106 begins. Okay? We have gas stations on this road, we have the Walmarts, we have Cumberland Farms, we have all sorts of things. Why are we pushing so hard on this man who has paid taxes in this town longer than $500?
Hold on. Hey, come on. Please, just bring it to me. Bring it to me, please.
I mean, no one's selling extra permits for any of these things. He's been paying taxes before any of these neighborhoods existed. He's been paying permits for this stuff. He could sink tanks in the ground
No,
and
he can't.
pollute our lands, but he's choosing not to. It's not doing that.
he actually cannot.
But this town wants to make it seek all this and force his hands to do all this because they don't let them look like something.
No, it's actually set in precedent from before.
Okay, hold on.
For these meetings, this was about the look, the smell, the sound, and all of these things that were proven weren't actually an issue. So yes, it is also about the look.
And
It might be, but there's
to
also a
address
precedent that was
to-
set.
To address that issue, as far as looks, maybe doesn't, I don't, raise a hand, people remember pumps? When they were there? Right? I don't know, I remember the island being out front. So, we, gonna, yeah, could you just identify yourself for the record?
So originally the proposal was to put a big huge thing there for oil, so he could, instead of going to Quincy to get his oil, his trucks could fill up there and then go sell it elsewhere. Now it has changed, so it's just diesel fuel for his own trucks. He's not taking it off and selling it other places. He still has to go get the oil in his trucks to deliver to people. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
So is that, okay, so now the issue that we all have, which I now have a different opinion, we won't have giant tankers coming off of 106, filling up there and leaving. That was what I think our neighborhood or original issue was, when we were gonna have 18.
Oh, I see.
Filling up with fuel or oil to go sell to other people. That was my
Okay.
original opinion. Since it's all changed, and this is just for his own personal usage, so they don't go to the gas station to use their own trucks.
Yeah.
To me, it makes more sense, and I have to say, I do appreciate the fencing that they put up there, and it does kind of keep it off of 106, in my opinion. I just think that it's a little bit, it's much more palatable to me because they've changed the way that it is. So I think they did try to accommodate the issues that we were having and change it to something that's not going to cause the problems that we have, in my, especially with traffic on 106. That's just my opinion.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and for clarification, you are correct. There were no increased flow in traffic, no large trucks. So, as of right now, I'd like to get a feeling for the board on, as far as moving forward, if the board feels as if a special permit would be required.
Based off the conversation with the interim chief and who said the state,
Fire marshal's office and the regional code representative.
based off the fact that this is used for his own trucks and not for commercial distribution.
Not for sale, not for retail sale, yes.
I think as long as those permits that they've requested are satisfied, I don't see how we can request anything further. I don't know
Agreed.
if it falls under that jurisdiction.
At this time, if
Make a motion.
If the board, I would entertain one, just to have it on clarification, that is the board's feeling.
You want to make a motion? I'll make a motion then that Curtin Brothers Oil, it does not need a special permit for the 1,000-gallon above-ground storage tank that would be specifically used for his own trucks and in compliance with the requirements of the state fire marshal's office and the interim fire chief, that the application for the FPO 6
Is up to date.
is up to date, fulfilled, and complied with.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, based on the fact that all I have in writing from the interim fire chief is the opposite of what is stated there, and I would have wanted that in writing from the interim, which I'd be okay with. But based on the fact that we've been asked to get legal counsel by some people, I'm not opposed to this, but we have an interim fire chief here. We have hearsay and written notes from, and we also have a letterhead from the fire department that states the opposite. So that is why my vote is no.
And
Okay.
in fairness, I do have to say it's, although it's not in writing from the interim fire chief, it is being presented by an elected official that sits on the board with us.
But we have a letterhead.
Mark, did
But we
you
have a
think
letter.
Was it anything different?
Hold on, please. All I'm asking is that, as we just took, first of all, we just took the vote, so it doesn't matter, it's over. But from a sake of a decision is, if this was all made up,
Well, I'm not saying it is or it isn't,
but that's what hearsay is, so, hold on.
but we have a
If this cannot
letterhead.
be confirmed, that would bring a whole nother conversation, which I'm sure would require Mr. Curtin to come back. And then we would have a very specific conversation with Mr. Gaynor about
Make it
this
something
not
like
being.
Well, I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but why wouldn't the fire chief put it in writing like he did?
I believe with the fire chief, I believe with the intent on that was to just have some conversation that we were aware that he was proposing something. I don't think that.
This came after our meeting, and so that's why I'm stating it, like the last letterhead that we've received. So I would think that he would put it in writing again, and then that would confirm everything, and it would keep us, I think it should be in, so why don't we request it from the fire chief in writing? That way, we're all covered. That's basically what the statement
Is
is.
that difficult to do, to ask for all
No.
the information in writing?
I don't think so.
With him, she met with him, she
At
met with
this-
me, there's 3 people.
At this, but
But what I
at
was,
this point, I believe it's a dead issue.
Yes.
The motion is passed, and I'd like to move on. Mr. Curtin, I would like to return this to you. I want to make sure that that doesn't get.
What do we do next?
May I make a comment, please?
No?
I don't-
Mark,
Yep.
yeah. You gotta recognize it.
Yep.
I just want to make a comment. I
Yeah.
have nothing against the Curtins. And I want to, I'm going to speak to this, okay? I have nothing against the Curtins. I do want to
Come on.
Mr. Gainer keeps saying 1,000 gallon tank, but previous to this, we were asking for 10,000 gallons. What is it? It's voting on, you just voted on 1,000.
This is 1,000. Yes.
And you know what, I'm okay with that. But we originally were talking about 10,000 gallons.
Not in front of this board. This board had never.
I just want to say, I'm okay with it. But
I'm glad you are, and don't think
you
that.
would have taken the approach of when someone asked the board, and we represent the town residents, that you would have gone and done what we asked.
Okay, but just to explain that, if someone asks a question, I mean, I've been on the board for a long time, you know, I've read this stuff, so to me, that wasn't a question. So when there's, I do ask for clarification from the attorneys when it doesn't seem clear or inherent to me. So sometimes it may not seem clear or inherent to someone in the audience, but if I don't have any questions on it and I'm firm in my belief on it, so, and the board is in belief, we wouldn't go further with something that we all considered fact.
Right, I'm just saying, you're only one person on the board.
Certainly, my voice is no different than anyone else's.
If there was a few other people on board that, again, wanted the clarification, I would just say in the next time, that you listen to the residents and get the clarification that they asked for.
Yeah, and certainly, like, my voice is not greater than anyone else's. So if the board's opinion was to have that addressed with the attorney, it would have been, you know?
I'd also like to just add, just so everybody's base is covered, that from now on, when we gather information, just to cover everybody's backside, we get it in writing from the person. I get it, we've all talked, and that's, I've heard, I told you, you're an elected official. What you
Yep.
say, as far as I'm concerned, is good.
The only problem with that, Brendan, is bottom line, it was basically a fact-finding mission, just like Amy did, just like Mark did.
but mine.
It can't be in writing, because there's no application for the permit, FPO
Those are regulated.
So he can't just go out and say, okay, a company like Curtin Brothers Oil, if they ever apply, here's a letter saying that it's okay.
No.
That's not gonna happen.
The information that you have there should be on letterhead. So in real estate, we always source, and we have to prevent lawsuits. So the reason that I'm saying source and letterhead is because then it goes in the file, and if we do get taken to court on something, then, because that's my 100%, that is my 100% drive. I am not against that project whatsoever. But I do believe in the fact that we need to have it in writing from sources with letterhead, because all I did was get it in writing on letterhead, what he said. I didn't,
Okay, hold on, I'm going to clarify
and
that.
that's very
So
important.
If when we base our decision on the information in the bylaws, not all of the information that we gather to make that decision is official. You know, a lot of times that's just research.
And I will also add, because I think we did our due diligence with finding information on this topic, which was obviously a hot button for the community. I would say that although in the future, I think it would be best practice that if there is a discrepancy upon the board and within our residents, that the price of asking our council is gonna cost a hell of a lot less than if we get taken to court over a topic in either direction.
Yep,
So I would rather spend
100%.
$500 on an email or a phone call to get that clarification one way or another than spend the thousands that it would take if somebody does find a discrepancy because we didn't do our due diligence, which is the reason why we even have counsel, to then go to court, because that's a heck of a lot more expensive. So all I'm saying is moving forward, if you hear us come across something like this again and we say, hey, remember that Curtin Oil situation? Let's just seek counsel, especially because it was requested by residents. Let's just do that.
It's
1,000%.
similar to the pasture lane one, right?
But hold on, we actually do have a
recently-
legal counsel package, and we actually have, and it doesn't cost $500 for us to get it in writing
so that's-
from them
but we
because of the
rec-
deal that we have with our town council.
So we recently used town council, right? We, as a board, we had a question, right? And
It's in
I
the
didn't know the answer, I didn't feel confident, bang, we went and we got the thing.
Right.
So you gotta understand where certain things where I feel confident I got the answer, and there
But
is
you're
no
one
question.
person.
So yes, right?
You're the chair, but you're 1 out of 5.
That's right. Certainly, my voice is no stronger than anyone else's. But I am not going to vote, I personally would not vote to ask an attorney a question. I felt strongly I already knew the answer and had research.
What you can do, just because of the discrepancy on the board, and there are 5, and again, if it's 3-2 or 4-1 or 0, whatever, we can at least bring it to vote to ask council because it was requested in the future.
Okay.
And then if it turns out that it's 5 all against, at least we took the vote and we satisfied a request from the residents.
Just so we, last thing that I would really do, but nobody did make a motion to contact council. So I didn't feel as if I stifled anyone, and I did not make one.
I thought it was
but-
a good thing to do.
But you didn't make the motion, and I certainly didn't stop
Well,
you.
we usually didn't
If you know
need
what I mean.
to
But I'm
make a
just-
motion, and I'm always about the residents.
But
that
we
speak
always make a motion.
100% about the residents.
We always would make a motion to address an attorney, always.
I stated last meeting that we should be listening to the residents because of what happened last year. And I actually questioned whether we'd need a supermajority of 5-0.
So, all I'm suggesting, not to go down the rabbit hole, all I'm suggesting is moving forward to prevent something like this if it is brought to question.
If it's in our best interest,
It needs
most
to
certainly.
be-
I got
It's
you.
in everybody's best interest to seek counsel and pay the bill.
Just to
All right.
cross Ts and dot Is. We don't want any lawsuits. That's what, I'm not negating Bert. I'm stating that we have a different thing in writing on letterhead, so we need that on letterhead.
Okay? Well, yeah, one more question.
So this was for 1,000 gallon tank.
Yeah.
If he goes for another 5, 1,000 gallon tank, will you have to reapproach it?
He'll come back here?
But at what point does it become a large,
Actually, no. We just set precedent that he does not need to come in front of us for his 1,000-gallon oil tanks by stating that he did not need a special permit.
Yeah, but that doesn't, but most likely it'll be the same thing, right? He's gonna
Most
go
likely.
to the fire department, he's gotta get his
You just
permit for the
circumvented
thing.
this, the planning board.
Exactly, I'm working hard, and I'm off, I know what to do. And when you get stacked, you go 1,000 in that 10, 20, 30.
And therefore, that's why I was adamant.
And I think that, when you say you have to go to a report, I think that, well, sure it is. He's gotta have a contingency plan at one point, for skills and everything else.
I'm sure, I mean, this is also his business. This isn't someone who has who,
I've been involved in this for 35 years.
yeah, you know, so for a fuel guy to have 1,000 gallons worth of fuel, most people wouldn't consider that an issue. You know, a guy who spends his whole life dealing with that product, you know?
Household tax, I get it. It's when you see 10 or 20 of them stacked up.
Yeah.
So what's to stop you from doing that?
Nothing now.
Nothing now? Do the residents have any say? Is there any type of a recall?
There's an appeal.
No, but the thing is that a lot of times when we don't require things, it's when things don't change, right? So this is a temporary unit. We're not allowing them to make anything permanent. If at any time that there was an issue, these things can be removed. It's there's
Not by
a lot of.
permit, not by, because you allow him by permit of the fire department, even though there's location requirements of these tanks, fence requirements of these tanks, which come under our jurisdiction. We have just allowed them to circumvent a special permit. And again, our bylaws state industrial use is emissions, and it says storage right in it, toxic waste and fuel. It is in light industrial use, and if you use the chart, a special permit is required in the business district for light industrial use.
If there were an incident that we had to get involved, then
We don't have any jurisdiction.
yes, we do, because if something happens and there's a safety issue,
fire department
it doesn't
has to.
matter that he had the right to put the tank. We address the safety issue.
No, you just circumvented
There is
us.
no chance, no, that
just
doesn't
circumvented
happen. That's not the way it goes.
You just made it that way because the
No.
precedent is that nobody who needs a 1,000-gallon tank needs to get a special permit.
Because if there was an issue, we would address the issue. If it's a
How?
safety
We're not
issue, it
zoning
wouldn't matter on the permitting. If someone had an issue with the house, whether that house is permitted, they have an issue and we address it. It wouldn't happen any
I
differently.
disagree with you wholeheartedly.
That's fine.
So when Jimmy Seal and I got involved, I know the problem I had with the first go with this whole thing was if there was any leaks or anything like that, that because of the size of those tanks and the amount of fuel, 650,000 gallons, I believe,
I believe, now, just so it's 60,000 for the old proposal,
okay, so what is it now?
1,000 gallons.
1,000. With, he can add more, because you did not.
Because he has the right. He has the right.
Okay, but the residents have the right, us living in the neighborhoods, be concerned if there is ever a leak and our fire department handle a hazard. Can they handle this? It would be a chemical hazard. It would be.
It would be similar, all right, so
Which
there's
is why
a
it's light
huge,
industrial.
there's a very fair comparison between home heating oil and diesel fuel. They're very similar, right? So a spill on his tank would be very similar to a large house with most likely 2 storage tanks would equal what he has. So yes, it can be a problem, but most people in town have a tank.
For storage. It's
Right?
for-
So most of us
for
have
tanks.
a tank that stores home heating fuel, which isn't even as great a quality as the tank that he's going to be using.
Four tanks, right? We're not talking about a regular household oil tank here. We're talking about a lot of oil being stored there with homes right there.
Jeannie, no, you're not. No, you're not talking about that.
1,000 gallons.
It's completely different, if I may.
So
It's like the highway department has an above-ground storage tank for 10,000 gallons. This is, if I could finish, this is a 1,000 gallon. If he wanted to apply for 2 or 3 or 5, it gets to a point now with a permit issuing authority for that permit that was that FPO 6. If the fire chief said, wait a minute, this is getting way out of control, this is a matter of public safety, then yes, you have recourse. Not like saying like, nope, that's it, you've got nothing more to say. Yes, you do. Like Mark said, if it was a public safety issue, yes, the fire chief is gonna jump right in there. So there is recourse.
with the tanks that are there now, if it is a hazmat condition, hopefully never, but can our fire department handle that? Or,
Well, according to, again, my personal conversations with the interim chief, he specifically read through it, that it's a double tank, it's explosion-proof tank, which I never even knew there was such a thing, to be honest with you. There's shut-offs, there's relief valves, there's all kinds of different things that's involved with, as opposed to the tank in your basement, which is just a tank in the
Metal
basement.
drum.
It depends on what kind of tank. There are
Well, however,
double wall tanks.
When you said there is no recourse, yes, in fact, there is. You certainly do. And it's a completely different situation than what was applied for previous. That was a whole different
1000% agree.
ball of wax, so to speak.
How did
But
that change? I didn't, how did that, when we were at the last meeting, which was whenever it was, and they all talked, and Greeley came in, and they all talked about noise and traffic patterns and all those things, which is, again, I totally agree with what she had said. That
because it was a different situation, Dick, if I may. It was a different situation, Dick. It was 50,000 gallons. It was above ground. He did show that, in fact, the above-ground tank was even safer than what would be underground, but
Just some, so what's the question? The question is,
is, again, just knowing that there was a change. Now, again, what did I miss? Was it on
oh,
social media?
so what would have happened, and I'm pretty sure on this, is that he got denied at the zoning board of appeals, and then he probably just went back and started thinking like, okay, I can't do that, and then thought of, yeah. I don't know if this has anything to do, but the man's got a right to have ideas on the property. I believe at one point there might even been a ice cream thing. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
That
there was
special permit has expired as of 2009 when they went for a special permit to have ice cream.
Yeah, so.
And they went for it in '05.
So he's constantly, trying to develop, make the best out of his property.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You said block from now on.
All right, so this one is going to be very quick.
which one we know?
The next one is discussion. Oh, wait. That's
Sherwood.
great. Sherwood Drive. Oh, I thought this was the other one. I get these ones confused. So Sherwood.
Sherwood is the one over in Highland Woods with the drainage
Okay, yeah.
easement
Not-
problem.
All right, not the other one. Okay.
Do you want to ask, Jim, or
Other business? Well, sure.
the letter
You want to talk about
I'm sorry, Joanne?
Oh,
from Jim Curry is in Sherwood Drive?
Okay.
Do you want to write the one you write?
Did we find out how much we have left of that bond?
All right, I see. So we do have a response back from the letter that we had sent for stating that we'd appreciate any help. The building inspector did get back to us responding that the enforcement officer is not responsible for the enforcement of the road bonds. As far as the town acting to enforce the bond to repair any deficiency that exists, it is his belief that it would fall under the Board of Selectmen. The selectman could appoint either himself and/or the highway superintendent to correct the issues that exist.
I mean, how does it come with the Board of Selectmen?
I assume just because the Board of Selectmen may be able to give the resources required, I'm not
Oh,
sure.
like as in attorneys, or legal?
Yeah, or,
recourse that-
yeah,
I
or,
just don't know
or
how
the,
it came
yeah,
from the Board of Selectmen.
that's, yeah, that would be my interpretation.
I think they have the right to enforce legal recourse based on needing to finish it, based on information of the bond that is left over and not just that the project wasn't satisfied in order to, you know.
Yeah, and then they can allot funds or something to that effect.
So would it be appropriate, I don't know if I can ask the question and then make a motion in the same thing, to take the advice of make a motion that we ask the Board of Selectmen to appoint either themselves or the highway superintendent to correct the issue that exists.
Using the funds of the bond, you mean?
Right, I see where you're going at, right? That's gotta be the next, that would be the next step.
Right. So at the end of the day, if what the building inspector is saying is the Board of Selectmen could appoint myself as highway superintendent to correct the issue that exists, then I think it's out of our hands at this point, and it should now go to them. So I would make a motion that we request them to put this on their agenda to handle. And to either appoint themselves or the highway superintendent to take corrective action.
And to
Now,
re-
where the funds come from,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
to
bond
research,
or
right.
otherwise, that would be on, at their discretion.
to research the availability of the bond
Correct.
money that's left over.
And it makes
sense.
a ton of sense to put that, yep. All right, so I have a motion to contact the Board of Selectmen to ask them to appoint someone,
Either themselves,
either themselves, the zoning enforcement officer, or the highway superintendent to enforce the bond,
to correct the issue that exists,
to correct the issue that exists,
whether through the bond or funds that they deem appropriate.
how they deem appropriate.
However they deem appropriate.
Right, and then they can make the decision whether or not to seek legal counsel and blah, 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 whatever.
All right, I believe Joanne has the verbiage on that down pat.
There you go. So that wasn't a,
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
can I just add one thing quickly, just for the record, even though it thankfully was taken off of our agenda?
Yes.
Spoke with, called a few of the selectmen in regards to Passion Lane. Spoke with Selectman Seeley today. He reached out to our town administrator. They have now taken on, and I believe they're reaching out to you, and we are able to seek counsel in order to get it off of our agenda and move it up the chain so that Passion Lane can be addressed with people that have more jurisdiction to handle it. So because we said last time on record that I would call a selectman to ask for help, that has been done. We've moved forward and it is now no longer on our agenda for the first time since 2004.
That is good. So it is not on our agenda, but things are moving. We are still trying.
Just
So
letting it
I
on
did
record that
get,
it was addressed.
I did get the
And
phone
so
call
that's gonna go
yesterday. I did
handle
not get a chance, but I will be in contact with the attorney and then, so we're still trying.
Yeah, and the selectmen don't meet until next week.
Correct.
So,
But
Okay.
they are very well aware of what is being requested of them and that counsel is being sought. And we have the jurisdiction to request that and then bump it up to them after the council gets that. So it's not the finish line, but it is certainly progress, and I wanted that on record.
Excellent.
amen.
Okay, moving on to meeting minutes for June 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 2nd, 2022 meeting minutes as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
This is these.
Nice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I just don't think I was there, so I don't think I can vote.
You were.
I was, aye.
You can cut it anyway.
I'll make a motion to accept the June 16, 2022 minutes as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written July 7, 2002 with attachments.
Second.
Okay, great. Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, and pictures that we got today.
Oh, we got pictures?
It's, yeah, you put near the end.
Oh,
I think it's on the other business. And also that letter from the DEO about Sherwood Drive, that was also for Catherine. He's saying that he's not, he responding to that as well.
Okay, the withdrawal without prejudice.
Do you see that?
Oh, the
Yeah.
country club estate, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, just saying that it's not responsible for that.
Which is just probably a supplement, maybe these pictures in the recent communication that was received today that came in.
Forward 'em.
It should be forwarded to the selectmen.
Second.
So they could see them also.
I think we all agree with that. Perfect.
They would have a drive to
Yep. Yeah, just technicality, switching over.
So I just have that written up to send it in on Monday. I already showed it to her. She said that's fine, what they were looking for.
Zoning's gonna see, the Verizon project that we just did on, August 8th. We sent a letter to Conservation because they're having a public hearing on, 592 and 0 Plymouth Street to let them know that their application has been denied. Maybe send it to all boards.
Yeah, I do send that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
I just wanted to let you know, just if it makes you feel better. I did email 0592 on July 13th, which would have been the 30th day from the distribution, and I gave them all the comments, and I told them that we had a meeting tonight, 7 o'clock. They were on for 7:15, so they knew all.
right,
They
perfect.
didn't respond to it, but I did send that. So.
Okay. Well, I mean,
And there was
We-
never any communication in between, you know, other ones, I usually have lots of communication in between every, you know, people that for appointments, but I never heard anything from them in between at all, other than
It'd be
the
interesting
time.
to see somebody show up and talk about it.
yeah,
Well, I
That's
think-
what I was kind of, hoping for, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Strange.
other than when he wrote back to me and said, you know, about the distribution, we'd rather wait till that's over. And I told him I will let you know when it's getting close to, close to that, and did that and sent them.
And sometimes in the course.
Lots of in-law apartments, huh?
From certain committees not in their favor, it may seem it's not worth their time to come in
Yeah.
if they know that, how.
that could be, right? Maybe once they read those.
Well, the
and-
Board of
I was
Health
wondering
had
something I
quite
saw.
a bit to say. I don't know if you saw it in the folder. I wrote on the other one to see the comments in the folder. He had quite a bit to say about that, so.
Yeah, so maybe they'd,
Maybe.
And it wasn't done with any prejudice. We gave you an opportunity. It's not like we didn't give you a chance to show it,
yeah,
you know? So,
I don't
Make
know.
a
I took a
motion
look
to
at it
adjourn.
and there was no,
Sorry,
I think those are.
sorry.
I believe I have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Did you say-
Can we run with it?
Oh, second, third, fourth?
Hold on, wait. No, you got to do that.
What is it?
You're not getting out of this one, buddy. I didn't see it in there.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, what am I signing?
So we just have to-
Just with small.
Verify. Probably not.
Trying to sneak out of here on you. So everybody has to sign.
Okay.
Hey, Bart, may I suggest that those notes go into the current file for protection?
Let's say 20.
The 21st.
Looks great. Now I can just copy you.
Do we have other ones?
How many rubber games are on that?
I know.
Quite a crowd, huh? I did too.
We haven't even adjourned, but can you do that?
Just wrote them, I didn't take notes when I was there, I just made notes on my own. Did he say anything different to you that he's, that?
He told me that they needed to come in front of the planning board to get a special permit.
Really?
Now, see, he specifically said, I swear to God, specifically said to me, look, I have nothing to do with special permits, whether or not it has to or does not have to go in front of a board for a special permit. He specifically said, he was very clear about that.
His
That's
letters-
got nothing to do with the fire department.
His letter stated
No,
that,
you said at his meeting today, when you met with me.
I didn't meet him today.
Oh, yesterday or whatever.
No, I haven't seen him since after our first meeting. But can we have a copy of those notes?
That with that money.
I just didn't think people knew about this.
Thought you'd have to use this tonight.
Yeah, like I said.
Well, I think that it's important where
I
we
was gonna
were
bring one.
told that the fire
Just
chief.
on this, right? So just for
No,
clarity.
so the fire chief stated that those things happened, and I think that we need them in writing for our file, and I appreciate it if we could get a copy for the file since they were used in a official manner.
No.
Are we signing here?
So that's the signature
Those were in that book.
fiscal year. All right, I gotta get the bottom two after.
Does anybody else need my signature?
Let's see, you can double check.
We haven't adjourned.
We have it, we're not
No.
done, but don't run away. All right, so.
Please,
I
Can we-
would rather not. They're just my own personal notes.
duly noted.
You know-
Motion to adjourn.
Get the same information.
Hold on. We have to sign all these.
Fire marshal.
Hold on. We're not done.
I'm a slave driver.
Wow.
So that's 7. All right, I'm gonna keep that with it.
Yep. We have to sign the MyLars too, unless you want us to go into the office and do it on Monday.
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn, then everybody can just pick. How's that? We have a motion to adjourn?
to adjourn.
Have a second? And a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.